excited to be here speaking with you all today. I know it's not the most uplifting topic, but it's an important one, and I'm just honored to be here and able to share a little bit of information about how to protect yourself and others from elder abuse and scams. A little bit about New York Legal Assistance Group. We're a leading nonprofit that provides free civil legal services, financial counseling, and engages in policy advocacy efforts to help people experiencing poverty. This is our number here below, 212-613-5000. That's our general intake line. You can reach me at that line. You can reach a lot of different civil legal services, housing assistance, immigration, financial counseling, as I mentioned. So that's a good number to take down if you're taking notes. And I'll be sharing these slides at the end, so you'll get it. A little bit about the initiative that I'm a part of. The Family Caregiver Abuse Prevention Initiative is a multi-agency project. We work with JASA, Met Council, the Weinberg Center, and Cornell Center for Elder Abuse Solutions. And we provide social and legal support to older adults and their caregivers to prevent and address elder abuse. So today we're going to talk about elder abuse and try to get a little bit of understanding about what it is, what it looks like, how to prevent it. And then we're going to talk specifically about financial abuse because that's the most common form of elder abuse. We're also going to talk about trusted person or caregiver abuse. Again, most elder abuse is financial. Most elder abuse happens at the hands of a person that's known to the older adult. And then we're going to talk specifically about scams for a while because that's a big area of concern, I think, with everyone, not just older adults, but scams are on the rise. And so I want to give a bit of information about how to spot scams and how to protect yourself. So elder abuse, there's not one agreed on definition of elder abuse, but I like these two definitions. So it's basically, the first one is from the Older Americans Act, which is the act that started Medicaid, I'm sorry, Medicare and Social Security. It's the knowing infliction of physical or psychological harm or the knowing deprivation of goods or services that are necessary to meet the essential needs or avoid physical or psychological harm. So that kind of encompasses both neglect, the deprivation, and sort of the actual like physical or psychological emotional abuse that can sometimes occur. And then the second one is from the National Center on Elder Abuse. It's any intentional or negligent act by a caregiver or trusted person that causes or creates a serious risk of harm to an older adult. I kind of like to expand it. I think elder abuse is broader than that. I'm not sure that it always needs to be from a trusted person or a caregiver. I see a lot of cases where it's from someone in the community that's maybe not trusted, or just a scammer online. That seems to be more and more common. So we'll talk about that as well. Elder abuse is common. Some studies show 1 in 10 older adults will experience abuse in their lifetimes. There are others that think it's that have shown that it's much more common than that. It's not widely reported, so it's hard to say, but it is unfortunately quite common. It can include physical, sexual, psychological abuse, neglect, and financial exploitation. In 60% of the cases, this is a low, probably on the low end number estimation, but in 60% of the cases, the abuser is a family member or someone, and almost in a lot of the cases, it's someone known to the person. And then also, this is another kind of sad and disturbing statistic, is that 2/3 of nursing home staff reported committing some form of abuse, and that includes neglect, which is something we see a lot. Risk factors is social isolation and mental impairment, such as dementia. Spotting elder abuse. And just, I'm going to run through these a little bit quickly because I have a lot of slides and I want to make sure we have time for questions at the end. And feel free to put your questions in the chat. Matt is going to be monitoring that for me. And if it's something that he thinks we should answer right away, I'm happy to answer right away. But I'll have time at the end for questions as well. So some ways to spot elder abuse in your community. Here we have both caregivers and older adults in this meeting today. So I want to make sure we all know what it looks like and how to spot it for ourselves and for others around us. The biggest one is a change in routine or behavior. So someone's, has a certain routine, and then all of a sudden they made a new friend and they're starting to see that person and they're a little bit more secretive. And they don't look quite the same. Maybe they're a little more disheveled. You want to watch out for the people that and maybe be a little bit curious with them about what might be going on if things seem a bit different for them. Confusions about finances and unpaid bills. It's a big one. A lot of times older adults need help with paying their bills, and they all of a sudden, like, a check that usually goes through bounced and they don't know why. That's a big red flag. Unexplained physical injuries, I think that's self-explanatory. Luckily, we don't see a lot of physical abuse, at least I don't see a lot of physical abuse in my practice, but that is a really big and serious concern. So make sure you're paying attention to that. Increased social isolation or physical isolation. Often abusers will isolate the older adult just so that they have more access to their finances and can kind of continue without someone else looking in. Older adult appears fearful of caregiver, weight loss, unusually unkempt or quiet. And then just watch out for the caregiver. If they appear rough, rude, or negligent, it's also a big red flag. All right, so how to big ways to prevent elder abuse. A big one is taking care of your health. The more that you can get out and take a walk on your own and do your own to pay your own bills and kind of stay on top of your own physical health, the less likely you are to be taken advantage of. Now we know that that's not possible for a lot of us. A lot of us have disabilities. We've had them our whole lives, or as we get older, we become frail. So just be aware that as you get older, your ability to be on top of things might decrease, and so have a plan for when that happens. One of the biggest things in my practice is making a power of attorney, which is a document that gives another person that you really trust the ability to make financial decisions for you in the event that you can no longer do that. So having that already in place so that when you start to lose your capacity and you need help, you already have a plan for someone to do that for you. Healthcare proxy is the same idea. It's just someone that can make healthcare decisions for you. It's not on the slide, but I'd also say, think about home care and how you want to be taken care of as you lose the ability to do it for yourself, who you want to provide that home care, how you're going to pay for it. These are all things to think about before you start to lose your capacity. Stay connected to your community. It's a big one. We don't all have family, but we can all make friends, and we can all stay close to people around us in our neighborhoods, in our community centers. Just make sure you have someone's number and you have someone that checks in on you, you check in on them. So important. Have your own phone. I think most older adults nowadays have cell phones, but if you don't, there are a lot of really cheap programs to get a cell phone. Get a cell phone, make sure you have it with you, and you know how to use it. And then also start using direct deposit and automatic bill pay whenever possible. I know some of us are concerned about that. We're like, don't quite trust the internet, but in this day and age, it's safer to do that than sending physical checks. Okay, so now we're going to talk specifically about financial abuse, because this is the most common form of elder abuse that we see. It's a big deal. Older adults lose $28.3 billion annually to financial exploitation. It's mostly committed by people that older adults already know. And it's embarrassing. A lot of people don't want to report it because they feel like they should have known better, or they should have seen it, or they feel like people won't understand. It's nothing to be embarrassed about. It happens to a lot of people in all different backgrounds. Anyone can be the victim of financial abuse. It crosses, just as I was saying, it crosses all social, educational, and economic boundaries. Older adults have particular risk factors, which include accumulated assets. sometimes people can get lonely after the loss of a loved one or family members, and so they have less people looking out for them. Older adults sometimes are less familiar with managing finances online or doing, society is rapidly changing and it's a lot to keep up with, so that can cause some issues. And older adults, disabled people may depend on others for assistance, so you're just more vulnerable because of that. So there are several common types of financial abuse. We're going to talk about exploitation by a fiduciary, which is a nice, fun legal term, but we'll explain it. Theft by a trusted person or caregiver, which is something I see a lot, and scams. Abuse by a fiduciary is someone. Fiduciary is someone that's named to manage your money or property, such as a trustee of a trust or an agent under a power of attorney. They have a duty to act only in your interest. They have a duty to manage your money and property carefully. They need to keep their money separate from yours, and they need to keep good records. That said, often there's not a lot of oversight of fiduciaries, and you can end up in a position where someone's abusing their powers and using your money for their own financial gain. And unless you're aware of it, or you have the resources to bring an action in court, you can lose a lot of money, and it can be very hard to get recourse. So let's talk about a power of attorney, because this is like one of the things that as an attorney I want to make sure everyone has, and makes a good decision about their picking an agent, so they don't have abuse by a fiduciary. So power of attorney is a legal document that allows someone else, your agent, to make financial decisions on your behalf. They're useful because it's a private way to appoint someone to make these decisions before your ability to make those decisions declines. What happens sometimes is if you don't have a power of attorney and you are in the hospital and you're incapacitated, or you have progressive dementia or something that affects your ability to make those decisions, you can no longer make decisions for yourself. Often there's not an easy way for family to take over and help you unless you have this document. If you don't have this document, then you have to go through like a lengthy and expensive guardianship proceeding, which is not a great system. So we want to try and avoid that if we can. So a power of attorney is a relatively easy thing to make. And they're inexpensive, they're free. If you have, if you have limited income, there's a lot of services, including NILAG, that will help you make a free power of attorney.
So, Nic, I do have a question. So earlier you said one way to help avoid abuse is to give someone power of attorney. But then in this section, you're saying you have to be careful that the fiduciary themselves may be someone who's taking advantage. So it seems like a bit of a catch-22.
It is, yeah. So when you make this power of attorney, you want to make sure you're appointing someone that you trust. And I think I have a slide coming up that gives some guidelines on how to make a power of attorney that's less likely to be abused, and just some considerations for when you appoint an agent, which is the fiduciary in a power of attorney, the person that helps you with your finances in this thing. So it's a document that's very powerful. It's giving the person basically your checkbook. So you have to be careful with it. That said, if you don't have a power of attorney and you don't have the capacity anymore to make your own decisions, you're going to have a court appointing someone for you, and that creates a whole other slew of issues. So if you want to have sort of say in who gets to make those decisions, it's good if you can make this power of attorney, and they're very easy to revoke as well, which is another thing to understand. So if you decide at some point that the person you appointed is not the person you want, you can revoke the document, make a new one, or take some time and figure out who that new person is going to be.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So some safeguards, only appoint someone you trust and make sure they know your wishes. So when you make this document, make sure you speak to the person who you're going to appoint as your agent and explain how you like to have your finances managed. Maybe put it in writing. That's not going to hold legal weight, but it'll at least show the person like that it'll show them what it is that you want and make it easier for them to make decisions. That way, if someone challenges it, they can say, look, no, I'm doing exactly what the person wanted, what you wanted. There are provisions in a power of attorney. There's lots of ways to write a power of attorney, and you should have an attorney help you with it so that you can put in provisions that safeguard your money and really can like tailor it to your needs. So you can have you can require that the agent regularly report to another person. So you can have your daughter as your power of attorney, but they have to report to, say, a cousin, and that just provides an extra level of eyes on your finances. Don't appoint someone that mismanages their own money or has a gambling or substance abuse issues. Sometimes people want to appoint someone, their closest family member, but that's maybe not the person to appoint. And then also ask your banks and other financial institutions about their power of attorney procedures, because you want to make sure that they'll accept the power of attorney that you make. Big one, understand that it can be revoked, but in order to revoke it, to revoke it, you need to sign a piece of paper that say you revoke it, and then you need to send that to the banks and all the financial institutions where your money is kept, so that they know not to honor that power of attorney anymore. Never make your power of attorney a hired caregiver or new best friends, especially. If someone's coming to you and saying, hey, you should make a power of attorney and you should appoint me as your agent, that's a big red flag. And again, have an attorney help you with this. There's a lot of organizations that do free powers of attorney, including NILAG. Okay, this is related to powers of attorney, but abuse by trusted individuals or caregivers. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to figure out how to contextualize this, because it's a big one and there's a lot of reasons that caregivers and trusted individuals can be financially abusive and neglectful in other ways. One of the things that I see a lot nowadays is people who become caregivers and end up moving into an older adult's home and use their status as a tenant in the home to try and kind of set themselves up so that they inherit the home, the rented property or the home.
Isn't there a name for that?
There might be, I don't know it, and I suppose I should know it. Does someone know and want to tell me so that I can?
I think I saw something in Britain, they have a name for it. I'm trying to remember what it was.
Really? Yeah, it's a big, I mean, in cities probably like London, New York City, and there's a big housing crisis, and there are a lot of young people that don't have stable housing, and and thankfully a lot of older people too, even though that's not so much the case anymore either. So I'm sympathetic to the reasons that this happens, but it's something to be aware of, that when you have someone coming in to take care of you and they're in a precarious situation themselves, it creates a situation that's ripe for abuse. And so you want to make sure you have some safeguards. Yeah, most financial exploitation is by a trusted person or a caregiver, because they have access to finances, property, and involved in private decisions. The way to prevent trusted person abuse is to secure your private financial documents. Try not to have your caregiver also involved in your finances. If you can, have like a separate. Sometimes it's impossible. It's your child, and you trust them, and they do everything for you, and that's lovely. But if you have some concerns, it's good to separate that if you can. Require receipts for purchases made by caretakers, especially hired caretakers. Don't promise money or assets for care provided. Like, don't say, you'll take care of me and I'll give you my house. I'll put you in the will. That creates a lot of issues. Don't lend caregivers money or personal property. And again, don't let hired caregivers help with bills. Try and have someone else do that if you can. See where we at in time. One way to get people out of your bill paying is to have it set up automatically. There used to be a program in New York City that was through the city. There was an automatic bill payment program that closed, unfortunately. But most financial institutions now have, most banks, you can set it up online and just have it paid automatically, so you don't have to have someone else involved in there. The other thing you can do is set up transaction alerts that are monitored by a family member or third party, or even just you get a text, so that if, say, anytime $100 or more is taken out of your account, you get an alert, so you know that that's happening, and you can look at it and say, yeah, I made that purchase, or I didn't. I don't know why did that $120 just come out of my account? And you can look into it. Check your credit. I'm going to talk about this again, but check your credit. You get a free annual credit report. It used to be once a year. I think after the pandemic, it just became like free all the time. But go to annualcreditreport.com and you can take a look and make sure no one's taken out credit in your name that you didn't authorize. And then if you own property in New York City, there's also a program through ACRIS, the Notice of Recorded Document program, and that'll let you know if someone's if there's like a new deed or a mortgage taken out on your property. And that's super helpful because there is a lot of deed theft in New York City. And if you have someone that's, a family member that has access to your finances, they could be taking out mortgages in your name. That's good to know. All right, let's start talking about scams. This is going to be specifically about like online scams and people that we don't know. I do see people getting scammed by people in their community with using similar tactics. So I'll talk a little bit about that. But online scams and phone scams, internet scams have really increased in recent years. The technology is getting much better. And people are losing a lot of money. I've unfortunately worked with several people who have lost their life savings to internet scams. So just be aware, don't be scared, just be aware and be careful. Yeah, the biggest one is investment scams. They're very enticing and they're very dangerous because you can lose a lot of money really, really fast. So who's at risk? Anyone. So the first thing I want to say is if you're the victim of a scam, don't be embarrassed. I've seen people who are brilliant get scammed. I myself have clicked on things I should not have. I mean, I'm not the most brilliant person, but it can happen to anyone. I mean, this is my job and this happens to anyone. So you need to be really aware that like it can happen. There are ways to protect yourself. There are things to do after it happens. It's not the end of the world, but let's all be very careful, especially before we give lots of money to someone. So older adults in particular have lost $3.1 billion to fraud in 2023. Sorry, I don't have an updated number for 2024, but I imagine it's higher. The tactics are evolving. There's now spoofing, phishing, artificial intelligence, deep fakes, phone scams. They can record your voice and use it and have you saying other things with your own voice. Now with artificial intelligence, it's really wild and a little terrifying. And I'll talk about what spoofing is and phishing. I'll show some examples of those too. So where are the scammers? They're everywhere. We're getting scammed by people all over the world. Sometimes it's right next door. Sometimes it's all the way on the other side of people in China. They can happen by phone, mail, email, text, and in person, as I mentioned. And they may be someone you know or a stranger in another country. Just for example, as someone in nearby, I had an older adult who lost his wife. He was very lonely. He started going to the movie theater. A nice young man in his community befriended him, got him involved in some investments, and he ended up losing all of his money. And it was really awful. Nearly lost his house. He's better now. He moved to Florida. He's away from him, but we're still trying to get the car that this scammer bought from him, like bought in his name, out of the scammer's hands. Like it's wild. It's very, very difficult. So just be aware that that's something, and watch out for your for people in your community, because often it's hard to see it when you're in it. Identifying scams. The common scams that we see are imposter scams, investment scams, and those two can go together. Lottery and prize scams, and romance and financial grooming. I'll talk about each one of these. So an imposter scam is someone that pretends to be someone you know or trust to steal your info or your money. They can impersonate a government agency, a charity, banks, tech support, and even your own grandchild. Some common government imposter scams, because this is the one that older adults tend to encounter the most, are they pretend to be from the IRS, ICE, Social Security, Medicare. Often you'll get a text message or an email saying that looks very official, and they'll say that something needs to happen very fast. You need to respond right away. And they're phishing, meaning they're trying to collect your personal information so that they can use it to take out credit or something else in your name, or they're trying to get money from you directly. So big thing with this is just stop. Don't respond. Call whatever agency that you think you're getting if you know it's a scam, just ignore it. But if you're concerned that it might be real, you can always contact the agency, contact the IRS, Social Security, and just ask them directly if it's real or not. Make sure you get the actual number off of the Social Security website. Don't call the number on the email or text that you get. The grandparent scam. I'm sure a lot of you've heard of this scam. Hopefully no one's encountered it, but it is quite common. It's someone that will call you and pretend to be a grandchild or someone that's caring for the child, like someone like a doctor from a hospital. And often they'll be crying, and so you can't really identify the voice, and they'll say that they're in like real dire straits and they need help right away. They need money right away, and they'll ask you for your credit card number, and then they'll just they'll rip you off that way. So again, prevention here is to hang up, call the child's parent, and see what's going on. Investment scams. These ones are easy to spot because they're so like in your face, like, hey, guaranteed returns with zero risk. I see these a lot in advertisements on YouTube. So if you watch YouTube, you're going to see an investment scam where someone says, we have a really easy way often through cryptocurrency to make a ton of money. And so, and they'll be very enthusiastic and look really legitimate. And generally it's not, there's not a lot of easy ways to make a ton of money on investments. So just be aware, and we'll talk a little bit more about this in a minute, but these are some of the headlines that you'll see with investment scams. Some examples of the types of investment scams that you'll see are cryptocurrency investment. That one's really popular these days. Foreign exchange, so like money market, like, trade money on the foreign exchange and you'll make double your cash in 2 days, and that generally doesn't happen. Real estate, coins and precious metals, investment trainings. So paying a lot of money for an investment training and then not really getting much of a return because there's not, investing takes a little bit more than one training. Loans and Ponzi and pyramid schemes, I think we all know about. Lottery and prize scams. So the big thing I tell people with this is you're not going to win a lottery that you didn't enter. So if you're not entering lotteries and sweepstakes, you're not going to win them. So if you get like a random email saying you won something or a letter, you likely didn't. It's probably a scam, and they're trying to either get you to give them some money so you can get your big prize, or get your get your name and social security number so that they can use it to take out credit. Yeah. Financial grooming is one that we're seeing more and more of. It's where you build a relationship with your victim over time. That's my poor client who met a friend at the movie theater. That was quite a long grooming relationship that was built up there. And this also can happen on the internet, in chat rooms. Well, chat rooms aren't really a thing anymore. It's showing my age there, but you'll see them on like emails and text messages. And once they've established a relationship with the person, they'll start asking for money. So it's an investment in time for the scammer, but once they've got the person's trust, they can start having crises where they need money for things, and then the kind-hearted person will start sending them. Kind-hearted victim will start sending the scammer money.
Say, Nic,
yeah.
it looks like you might be frozen there, or might be my end.
Am I still frozen?
Well, it looks like it's me. It says my internet is unstable. So
okay.
I see you went to the next slide here.
Mm.
But I was just going to say, if you can hear me, I occasionally get these texts like, "Hi, how are you?" Right? And I don't know who it is. Is that someone trying to like just establish a friendship so they can groom me for money?
Absolutely. Yep, that's exactly what that is. Usually they'll say, "Hi, how are you?" Or they'll be like, "Oh, hey, David, I lost contact with you. How have you been?" And then you'll write back, "This isn't David, this is Matt." And they'll say, "Oh, like, sorry, I didn't mean to bother you." And then they'll send a follow-up text message. "Nice, thank you for the kind reply, though." And then it'll kind of like entice you into a conversation with this nice person who seems really friendly, and maybe you'll make a relationship with them on text messages, and you'll talk to them for days and days, and they seem great. And it will continue until you know all about their life story and their family, and you start to develop really like a real like emotional connection to them. And then they'll tell you, "Oh, I need something terrible happened in my country and I need money." So this is a really, unfortunately, really something that happens quite a bit. Yeah, so I think we covered everything on this slide. So they request money to pay for visas, medical emergencies, travel expenses to visit the US. So if for some reason you get to the point where you've developed like an emotional connection with someone through text messages, and then they start asking you for money for certain things, it might be time to end that relationship, or at least ask for some sort of verification. I would say, I know it's hard, but maybe just stop responding. I think that's the best thing to do. This is a specific type of financial grooming. It's got a terrible name, pig butchering. It's what they call it in China, which means fattening the pig before slaughter. And this is where a scammer connects with victims online and then lure them into bogus cryptocurrency investments. This is often exploitation of the scammer and the scammed, because the scammers are often in these like terrible like sweatshops where they have to be making these calls and have to develop these relationships and like have to market these cryptocurrency investments. And it's just an awful situation all around. So again, if you can avoid getting into relationships with people online that you don't know, especially through these like text messages or email, like unsolicited text messages and emails. It's best to do that so you don't go down this road, because it does get can take up a lot of time and energy and money. So how to spot a scam? We talked a lot about this, but I'm going to go over it again because it's important. So the big one is urgency. Act now or else, right? Like, you get a pop-up on your screen, your computer has got a virus, call this number now and we'll fix it. Just don't act now. Stop, close your computer, close the screen, check it yourself, do whatever it is you need to do to like get a little distance, and then come back to it and see, to try and verify what's going on. Requests for personal info or financial info. Generally, there's no legitimate organization that's going to ask for your name and social security number over email or a text message, or the phone. They have that information. They don't need it from you. They don't need your password. So just be really wary of anyone trying to get your personal information. Do not pay for anything in gift cards ever. Like, because once you pay for something in a gift card, it's impossible to get that money back. Wire transfers, crypto, same thing. It's really, really sad how much money gets lost in these scams. And so just don't, like, it's a big red flag if someone asks you to pay in a gift card or a wire transfer or crypto. Do it in a way that's trackable, that you can, you have some insurance through your financial institution. Right, yeah, please. So phishing is where someone's pretending to be a legitimate organization trying to get your personal info so they can steal your identity and act as you out in the world. They often look like legitimate organizations, Amazon, Powerball. But if you look, sometimes the URL, like the website address, will be a little bit different. It'll be like, Amazon.cov or something. Like, it's not actually the Amazon website. It's not related to Amazon. And so that's one way to spot it pretty easily, is look at the email address or the website. If you're not sure, you can't tell, go to Amazon directly, go to your Amazon account and look. Same with, and Amazon's just an example. This is the same with any legitimate business that you generally do business with. You get an email from them, it doesn't seem right, contact them directly. Also, don't scan these QR codes. You see them even like on lampposts and stuff. Just don't. It's taking you somewhere. You don't go there. You'll get a URL sometimes in your text message, just like a random URL. Don't hit it. Don't do that. Here's examples of phishing, right? I get these all the time. I'm sure you do too. The delivery, your order will be delivered tomorrow by DHL, but I don't remember placing an order. And then you hit the thing to track the progress, and it sucks your information up. Don't hit that if you don't know what it is. You're not expecting it. I picked these because I like I like the response that the person gave. Hey, just a heads up, might want to use a URL that doesn't say scam chargeback. Another way of phishing is like these kind of romance scams, right? It's like, hey, are you Jennifer Reed? Nope. This is what we talked about. Oh, sorry, my assistant gave me the wrong number. I hope I didn't disturb your beautiful day. They sound so nice, right? So friendly. No worries. And then the scammer starts giving her name, like trying to start a relationship. That's phishing. That's a way of getting your info, trying to get connected to you. All right, spoofing is similar, but a little.
Sorry, Nic, on that last example, so the person says Jennifer Reed, is that supposed to be that they're joking with the person, or that they actually are not being aware?
Well, so the scammer is saying, "Hey, are you Jennifer Reed?" And the person says, "No, I'm not that person." And then the scammer's like trying to create legitimacy, like, "Oh, my assistant gave me the wrong number. I hope you have a great day," right? Like, and then the person being could potentially be scammed is saying, "No worries," like just being generous and nice, right, with their
Yeah.
time. And then the scammers using that to say, thanks for, like showing that they're a great person too. Hey, thanks for understanding. You seem friendly. It's nice to meet you. I'm Deanna. What's your name? Maybe we could start a relationship. Right. So it doesn't matter that they don't have your name right. They might have your name and use that, but it's just another way of like establishing a connection with someone. And
Okay.
often, for people that have time on their hands, which thank God, like, all of us hopefully one day will retire and have time on our hands. Like, it's no big deal to send a text message back, right? It's not a big deal. And maybe it's nice to have a conversation with random people. I love chatting to people on the train or on the airplane or whatever. But this is not that. This is someone that's out there looking for a victim,
Yeah.
right? And so you have to be careful. And unfortunately, it's just become so common that you have to assume anything like this is a scammer.
Yeah.
Spoofing is where a scammer is impersonating a legitimate person, organization, or a device even. Like, I'm trying to give an example, but that would be IP spoofing, like where they pretend to be from like a legitimate computer into trusting the attacker. Spoofing is like what we saw in those emails that like looked like it was from Amazon. It can also be where someone uses like your own voice to call a friend of yours with your voice to try and like scam them that way. That's with AI. It's very disturbing. So if you're getting a call from someone and their voice sounds right, but what they're saying doesn't make any sense, hang up and call the person directly. It can also be caller ID, so it might look like you're getting a call, say from your alma mater or Social Security or whatever, but they're actually able to have the legitimate phone number kind of like placed over their number that they're actually calling from to make it look like they're calling from a legitimate place. So don't just trust your caller ID anymore. Unfortunately, websites can look like a legitimate website, but it's not. Yeah, text message and voice. Here are a couple of spoofing examples. A GoFundMe page to rescue Matt Damon from Mars. This is not a legitimate GoFundMe page. This is a spoof. This is a page that looks like GoFundMe, and all the money that you give to it goes directly to the scammer. Same with this PayPal. I think it looks just like it's from PayPal. It would be really difficult to tell that it's not. But if you're not expecting anything from PayPal and you don't understand why you would get something asking for money from PayPal, go to your PayPal account and see what's going on. Okay, so we've gone over this, but I'm gonna go over it again because it's really important. Steps to stay safe. Stop and verify the source of the information. This is it. This is the main step. This is really all you have to do. If you get something, just stop and don't respond right away, because the urgency is what 90% of the time it's the person that just clicks on the link or gives the money gets worried and does the thing right away, and that's how they get that's how you get scammed. The sense of urgency is what creates the nidus for the scam. So it's generally not that urgent. You can stop, you can verify. You always have time to stop and verify the source of the information. Don't open emails and links from people that you don't know. Use strong passwords and two-factor identification. Use your computer's password manager. Anywhere that you can use two-factor identification. I know it's a pain in the tuchus. It's important. It really does protect you. Makes it a lot harder for someone that has stolen your identity to get into your accounts. And it also gives you a way of seeing if someone's trying to get into your accounts, because you'll get a text message or an email or whatever two-factor ID you use, you'll get a notification if someone else is trying to get into your account. And then also keep your operating systems up to date. All of the big tech companies are trying to stay on top of everything, and they are updating their systems and their security all the time to account for these issues. And so you want to keep everything up to date so that you have the latest security patches. And then keep your personal info secure. One big thing, this was a big issue last year, it's still happening. If you're sending, be really careful sending physical checks. Like physical checks have a lot of really useful information on them. If you can do online banking, do online banking. And if you're sending physical checks, bring it to the post office and deposit it in the post office itself, not in a separate box, because those are easily accessed. All right. And then if you're, got a lot of information. I'm going to give you these slides, but I want to go over it because I want you to be aware of what you need to do if you get scammed. Okay. So again, if you are in the, I'm going to give another example. So I had a woman who contacted me, like she had gotten, she was on her computer and she got a pop-up saying that her computer had a virus and that she needed to call a number. She called the number. It was like McAfee. It was like they spoofed. They said they were McAfee, right? She had McAfee virus protection. It wasn't McAfee. It was a scammer. They were able to get into her Target credit card account, buy a bunch of gift cards in like 2 minutes. And she realized it right away. Like as she was on the phone, she hung up. She called Target right away. She tried to get it sorted out. It had already all happened, and she was out like $7,000. So my point is, you can it can happen really fast. But whenever you start to realize that things seem shady, stop. Just stop all contact and then immediately report the fraud to your financial institutions. Call your credit card and then keep records of all the calls you've made and the reports you've done. Then go get your credit report so you can see if anything else, if you've been taken advantage of in any other way. In the example I just gave, that was like, she wouldn't have needed to get her credit report because it had happened like right then and there. But sometimes it's been a longer relationship you've had with the scammer, and they might have taken out things you don't know about. So that's one thing to do. And then once you have all the data that you need to know, like how many things have happened, how much money you've been scammed out of, and from where, go and file a police report. Walk into your precinct, file a police report, an FTC affidavit. The website to do that is right there. You can just type in report fraud FTC, just Google that, and it'll bring up this site. It's very easy. And you can also report it to the FBI because they keep FBI because they keep track of it, and they can sometimes help and provide some compensation. But the big ones are reporting to the police and the FTC. And then you're going to send those two reports to the banks, where credit loans or money was stolen, and collection agencies. And those can be found on the credit report. And then the 3 credit reporting agencies, right? Because they have an obligation to take those things off your credit report. And yeah, and that, banks then have a legal obligation to help you deal with the financial crime once they have those documents. And a note, just a legal note, if you pull a credit report and you have a collection debt that's older than 3 years, don't pay it. It's past the statute of limitations. So you're no longer liable. They're going to keep it on there because they want you to pay it, but you don't have to. So just keep that in mind. Yeah. Yeah, good to know. I think we're almost, oh yeah, here we go. So other ways to protect yourself. Review your credit report annually. You don't have to go crazy, but it's a good idea to look at it every 12 months and report fraudulent activity. Use your bank's automatic bill payer service. I can't say it enough. Don't send physical checks. Sign up for mobile bank alerts, and consider freezing your credit. You just call your credit reporting agency, freeze the credit. And that way, anytime you want to take out a loan or a credit card, you have to call and freeze it, do the thing, and then freeze it back up. And then no one else can use your credit without your knowledge.
Nick, does that affect the credit line you might have on a credit card that's already existing?
No, it doesn't. It won't affect anything. It just means that other people can't, I mean, you as well. No one can take out a credit card while your credit is frozen, right?
Yeah.
And then you'll just have to unfreeze it in order to do that if that's something you want to do.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that's it. Okay, so a couple other places to go for help. If you write down any other number than NILAG's number, actually, even before you write down NILAG's number, please write down the Elder Abuse Helpline for Concerned Persons. This is for anyone that's concerned about elder abuse happening. This is a number, it goes directly to the Center for Elder Abuse Solutions at Weill Cornell Hospital. They have real people that you can talk to that are connected with lots of resources, including New York Connects, which I believe PSS Life University is connected with as well. They're connected with Adult Protective Services. They're connected with NILAG. They're connected with just like all the agencies in New York City and state and federally that help older folks. So, and they have resources for caregivers and supportive resources. So they generally, how it works, you call them, you leave a message, and then someone will call you back. So it's not an emergency line, but it is very useful if you have like a concern. You have someone to talk to about it. New York Connects is city agency, also very helpful. And Adult Protective Services, we didn't talk about that specifically, but I'll just say, you know, if there's someone in the community and there's some real egregious, some like really bad elder abuse going on, and the person doesn't have a friend or a family member to help them, and you're not sure what to do, Adult Protective Services is the agency that you would call. I would say call the Elder Abuse Helpline first, just to get some advice around that before doing that. But it's a good number to have on hand. And that's it. I'm happy to stay as late as you all would like, but I realize I went pretty long, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Well, thank you very much, Nic. I've got a question or two. Just a reaction first. It's kind of overwhelming listening to this because it's like you almost have like a thesis here. Like there's so many aspects of fraud and scamming going on. And I just think about the stuff that I've been subject to, and it just seems very, very scary. Is there any sign that this is decreasing, or is this just
Unfortunately, right now it's been on the upswing. I think that I think people are becoming more aware and less and also more comfortable just not answering their phone with numbers they don't know,
Yeah,
not responding
yeah.
to text messages. I think people are starting to realize that, you know, unfortunately scammers are utilizing our trust in these devices that we have on us all the time. And people are kind of wisening up and not responding in the same way. So hopefully it'll get lower. I think just educating yourself, and you know, as we get more and more familiar with how this stuff works, it will go down. But right now it's on a bit of an upswing because there are just so many new technologies that allow them to contact us in so many different ways, and they look so legitimate.
Well, New York has got so many older adults, getting older in place, and a lot of single older adults. But it does seem like if people have strong friendships, that's definitely something that could help them, or strong family, obviously, that would help people maybe avoid some of these worst examples.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know, one thing that, at least in the population that I work with, which tends to be lower income adults, you know, doing some Medicaid planning early on, so that if you need home care, it's easier to get the home care that you might need. So if you don't have family or friends that can help you with that, or you have family but they have to work, they can then get paid for the home care that they provide you through Medicaid. You know, if you're aging in place and you're not sure who's going to be there to take care of you, it's worth speaking with, you know, an attorney like myself, or, you know, yeah, speaking with me or someone else that, you know, that provides these sort of services, to talk about Medicaid planning, which is, you know, how we can get home care, like getting hired people into our homes to help us age in place safely.
Right.
Yeah.
That's obviously a big thing. Well,
Yeah.
thank you again very much. This is really key information, very critical, and we really appreciate what you and the New York Legal Assistance Group do. So thank you for taking the time to explain all this to us, and